My daughter-in-law shamed me in a post, so I took away her home. The notification popped up on my phone just as I was finishing my morning coffee. Tag, you've been mentioned in a post. I tapped it, thinking maybe my grandson had shared another funny video. But when I saw what my daughter-in-law, Sophie, had written, my hand trembled so hard I nearly dropped the cup. Some people pretend to be generous, but the truth is, they control everything because they paid for everything. Living with a manipulator isn't a blessing. It's emotional torture. My name wasn't mentioned, but every friend and neighbor who saw it knew exactly who she meant. After all, she and my son Ethan lived in the house I bought, the one I gifted them after their wedding. That post broke something inside me. I'm Harold, 70 years old, a retired carpenter who spent 40 years building homes for others. My wife, Margaret, passed away 5 years ago. Since then, the only joy I found was in family, especially Ethan, my only son. When he married Sophie, I was thrilled. She was smart, ambitious, and full of life. I even surprised them with a house, a beautiful 2-story home in the suburbs, fully paid off. So you two can start a family without worries, I'd said, smiling as Sophie hugged me tightly. But that was before the warmth faded and resentment replaced it. At first, it was little things. Sophie complained about me visiting too often, about how I'd hover over their son, Tommy. She'd say, "He needs space from you, Harold," though the little boy would cry every time I left. I didn't argue. I wanted peace. But inside I could feel the distance growing. One Sunday, Ethan invited me for dinner. I went, carrying a homemade apple pie, Margaret's old recipe. When I arrived, Sophie barely looked at me. "Hi, Dad," Ethan greeted warmly. "Come in." Sophie sighed. "Did you have to bring dessert?" "I already made something. Now there's too much," I smiled politely. "It's just a pie, dear. We can always have leftovers." She rolled her eyes. "Sure," like we needed another reminder of how you do everything better. The room went quiet. Ethan tried to change the subject, but the sting stayed with me. That night I told myself maybe she was just tired. Maybe motherhood and work had her stressed. But then came that Facebook post, public, cruel, and humiliating. I didn't say a word to Ethan or Sophie that day. Instead, I decided to teach her what real control looks like. A week later, I called my lawyer, Mr. Jenkins. "Do you still have the property deed for the house on Oakwood Lane?" I asked. He replied, "Of course." "You never transferred ownership, Harold. You just allowed them to live there." That was all I needed to hear. 2 days later, I drove to Ethan's house. Sophie was in the garden, watering her roses. She barely nodded when she saw me. "Morning," I said. "Morning," she muttered, not looking up. I handed her an envelope. "Make sure Ethan reads this." She frowned. "What's this about?" "You'll find out soon enough," I said, walking back to my car. That night, Ethan called me, angry, confused, desperate. "Dad, you can't just evict us? What's going on?" "I can," I said calmly. "The house is still mine. You're both welcome to stay. But not as long as Sophie keeps disrespecting me publicly." There was silence. Then I heard Sophie in the background, whispering furiously. Ethan sighed. "Dad, this isn't fair." "Fair?" I said softly. "Was it fair when she mocked me online? When she made me look like a monster to your friends? I didn't raise you to let anyone, even your wife, disrespect family." He hung up without another word. For a few days, I heard nothing. Then Sophie called me herself. Her tone was different, quieter, softer. "Mr. Harold," she began, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have posted that. I was angry, and it wasn't about you personally. I interrupted. "You tagged your friends, Sophie. You made it about me." She sighed. "You're right. I went too far. But please, Tommy loves this house. Don't punish him for my mistake." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I imagined little Tommy, his bright smile, his small hands tugging at my sleeve every time I visited. He didn't deserve to suffer for adult mistakes. I stayed silent for a moment, then said, "I'll think about it." A few days later, I visited again. This time, Sophie opened the door before I even knocked. Her eyes were red, and she looked genuinely remorseful. Inside, Ethan stood with Tommy on his lap. The little boy ran to me and hugged my legs. "Grandpa, are you mad at Mommy?" he asked innocently. I knelt down and smiled. "No, buddy. Grandpa's never mad at anyone for long." Sophie's lip trembled. "I really am sorry, Harold. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. You've done nothing but help us, and I made you look bad." I looked at her for a long moment, then handed her a folder. She hesitated before opening it, and gasped. It was the deed, signed over to Ethan and her name. "I was planning to give you this on your 5th anniversary," I said quietly, "but I wanted to see if you respected what was given before you owned it. Consider this your second chance." Sophie broke down crying. Ethan hugged me tightly, whispering, "Thank you, Dad." I patted his shoulder. "Family isn't about pride, son. It's about respect. Don't ever let ego destroy that." Months later, Sophie posted something new online. This time, it was a photo of me and Tommy building a birdhouse together. Her caption read, "Sometimes, the people we misunderstand the most are the ones who love us the hardest. Grateful for my father-in-law, who taught me what family really means." When I read that, I smiled. Not because she'd apologized publicly, but because she'd finally understood. I may have taken her home once, but in doing so, I helped her find what truly makes a home: humility, love, and respect.